how much my property worth at the moment. So I bought it for a certain period. In the beginning, you told me that it will appreciate and I'm gonna get money. So now how much I'm going to make.
So first step, as I understand, to determine the price, and which is the hardest, I think, stage.
Sensitive stage.
Sensitive, hardest, hard decision has to be taken, right?
Exactly.
I know clients, as an investor myself, you want to sell it for maximum price. I know it's very hard for brokers, to do that part, to convince the customer on certain price.
Yeah, I can say that this is not the difficult part, because difficult part comes when you are qualifying the buyers. This is more difficult than negotiating with the seller.
Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of Lex Talks. And today we are again with Muhammad discussing about property related topics. Muhammad, welcome to this episode as well. And as you know, we are going to discuss selling ready property.
Definitely. First of all, thank you for having me once again. And I'm excited and hope what we're about to discuss will be useful.
Yeah. Actually, our previous podcasts, we're getting a lot of good feedback from our clients, from our friends, that we are really enlightening a lot of interesting topics, which is actually motivating us to, continue the episodes and discuss each topic in details. So today also we decided to discuss property selling process in details. And as usual, I will cover the legal part as a lawyer, and then you can cover from the broker's perspective. So let's start.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Last time we were discussing about buying process. So we were basically discussing from the buyer perspective, what are the legal implications and what are the standard procedures the buyer has to go through. And this time we decided to discuss about the seller from the seller perspective and the selling. So, well, basically, of course, once I'm selling property to buyers, they are not always end users. So basically they hold for a certain period and they resell the property. Basically, they become a seller. Mm-hmm. So once they become a seller, the first important question they ask me is that how much my property worth at the moment. So I bought it for a certain period. In the beginning, you told me that it will appreciate and I'm going to get money. So now how much I'm going to make. So, and I do the property evaluation for them, basically based on the current market, based on the location, property type, size, and different specifications are there. Even you can check this from the DLD. There is a specific department who can give the property valuation. Even we discussed that before when we were talking about, golden visa.
Yes.
So we basically do the property valuation and give the realistic number to the seller, and then they can decide. Because sometimes when you overprice your property, it will scare the customers. I mean, the potential buyers.
Yes.
Once it's too low, it become distressed, and a lot of buyers will be, and it will.
You lose the opportunity of earning
exactly
from your investments.
Earning the premium, you lose the opportunity. So yeah, basically the first important thing is property valuation, and definitely after defining what is the worth of the property, then we go ahead and start the marketing campaign, basically marketing strategy. So there are different portals which we can advertise the property, and there are social media that we can reach to the masses. Also, we can use our agency portfolio of the existing customers and our network, basically. So we have a lot of investors in our network, so we can basically offer them without going publicly. So yeah, we can use both public and private network, to reach the buyer and sell it.
So first step, as I understand, to determine the price, and which is the hardest, I think, stage.
Sensitive stage.
Sensitive, hardest, hard decision has to be taken, right?
Exactly.
I know clients, as an investor myself, you want to sell it for maximum price.
Yes.
right? But also there is a market demand,
Market demand,
whether
market
the
price.
market can, like meet that expectation. I know it's very hard for brokers, to do that part, to convince the customer on certain price,
True.
right? So do you think this is the hardest part when you sell a property, to determine the price, even before going to the legal process,
Not really, I can say. It's just that, basically we have, as a broker, my part is to educate the seller about the current property market, so that, property will not stay long in the market without being sold. So second of all is I have to, I can say that this is not the difficult part, because difficult part comes when you are qualifying the buyers. This is more difficult than, the negotiating with the seller, because there are a lot of buyers in the market, but it's important to qualify them with the right questions, and whether to make sure they have the right funds, and to make sure that they plan to buy with a mortgage or cash or transfer or whatever the payment method they're planning. It should be clear from beginning. Even the nationality of the buyers makes a difference sometimes. So we have to do the proper due diligence of the buyer, so that when we bring any kind of buyer on the table with a seller, we should make sure that they are the right fit, not to waste, the seller's time.
Due diligence.
Due diligence of the buyer.
Of the buyer.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the legal process. So you determine the price. You qualify, you find the right buyer. Now, what's the next step?
The next step, let's say we advertise the property. Well, basically we agreed the price with the seller. We advertise the property with all the channels, and then we have potential buyers basically in the pipeline. So the first thing we do is, once any potential buyer likes the property after viewing and it meets all the requirements, then after that, we ask the buyer to put a deposit check, which is 10% of the property value. And then we will go ahead and start drafting SPA, sales purchase agreement. Once we know that the buyer is willing to put the 10%, of course, we don't receive it, but we kind of ask some kind of proof that, they have the check ready, for us to go ahead with the SPA. So once they confirm to give a check, then we draft the SPA. Usually as a broker, we can go to DLD website and then we can generate standard SPA. And of course, if there is any kind of additional terms to be added, it can be based on the parties' input. We can put additional terms. But basically, we draft the SPA and we get the check 10% and we get it signed from both parties. And then we go ahead and proceed with the other steps, which is getting an OC and transferring and etc. So it varies based on the property ownership. For example, if it's under mortgage or if it's under fully paid. So during the getting the NOC, the situation can vary. So basically the SPA, standard SPA and special terms. So I wanted to address to you, what are the legal checks before, during the SPA process, where the seller should consider before signing the SPA, if you can put your input.
First of all, seller has to have the title deed. There should be a title deed for a property. If you don't have a title deed, you will have tons of issues, before selling a property. So first of all, title deed. Second, you need to make sure that there are no outstanding payables in relation to property. It's free from encumbrances, means there is no mortgage, there's no outstanding payments to the developer or facilities management company. Because as you know, during the selling process, you need to get NOC. If it is mortgage, you need to clear from the bank. So once you sign the SPA, these things become very risky. Because you sign the SPA, you are already committed to sell it. And issues come after SPA, is a big problem to the seller. So better to check that you are clear, you don't have any issues before signing SPA. once you sign the SPA, then you just need to do the formalities to get the NOC from developer or clear the mortgage with the bank, or if it's a mortgage transfer, NOC from the bank, to transfer the mortgage. Those things can be done as a matter of formality. But if the issues come, then, there'll be delay and you might be in violation of the contract in front of the buyer. So I would say to check everything before signing SPA. Make sure that everything clear as a seller from your side. So now we discussed about what legal things the seller has to check before signing SPA. So now the parties signed SPA, they obtained NOC from developer.
Right.
And of course, if there's a mortgage, there's a different process involved to clear the mortgage or transfer the mortgage. We can do actually a separate video about this mortgage transfer because it's a detailed topic, as you know. So what's the next step after that?
Well, okay, so SPA signed, 10% check is given, NOC is obtained from developer. Seller made sure that there is no outstanding liabilities or a mortgage or service payments. And then we set a date and time for a transfer, which is basically we go to trustee office, Dubai Land Department trustee office, and we agree on a transfer date. There, basically, the seller and buyer has to come. And they have to sign the SPA one more time in front of the trustee person. There, the buyer has to give the remaining 90% of the payment as a manager check to the seller. So, and then within few minutes, the property ownership will be updated and the buyer becomes the new owner. So that's it. Basically, this is how the procedure, if we talk about if everything goes smooth, it goes in this form. But I wanted to ask you, for example, I have a couple of questions from my experience. I'll go one by one on them. The first thing, sometimes after SPA signed with a 10% check, sometimes either seller or buyer change their mind, to proceed with a transfer for different reasons. Some of the time, seller feels that he's selling for less than its value, so he changed his mind, or somebody will change his mind.
Greedy.
He becomes more greedy. Exactly. He becomes more greedy.
Or the price changes in the market very fast.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even the buyer might have some issue during bringing the money from outside, or some kind of transfer issues.
Or getting mortgage approval.
Exactly. Mortgage also can be issue. So let's say SPA signed. 10% is given. But one of the party picks up. So what is the legal, responsibilities of the party?
Yes. Actually, it's a very good question. And in Dubai, this happens, quite often because market conditions change very fast. I personally, was a witness to such situations. Usually, parties, they agree on something, but then market conditions or a situation of each party changes and then they want to terminate, or basically they don't want to proceed with the transfer. Some people think it's just an easy thing to change, to cancel it, or not to proceed further with the process. But this has legal consequences. First of all, this is a violation. So if seller doesn't want to proceed with the transfer, means seller is violating the contract. And if buyer doesn't want to proceed with the transfer, means buyer is violating the contract. And usually in standard SPAs, there is a 10% penalty. And the reason also buyer puts 10% deposit is for this reason.
For that reason.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you sign the contract, you are committing to transfer. And if you are not going to transfer, means you are losing 10% as a penalty. And if you're a seller and you don't want to continue, also you are going to pay 10% penalty. Of course, sellers, they don't put a check, which makes it more flexible for them, or which gives them more room to sort of manipulate and, terminate it easier. But it doesn't mean that he is not liable to pay. If a buyer goes to the court, he can easily win the case and get 10% compensation. So that's why whatever the reason, if the parties, they just don't want to proceed, it's a violation. Of course, there can be force majeure, or maybe there are certain conditions written in the contract Let's say if the mortgage approval is not secured by the buyer, he will not be in violation and he's not going to pay this 10%. If it is written in the contract, yes, then if the buyer cannot get the mortgage from the bank, then based on the condition of the contract, he is not in violation. So if you are not sure, or if you think there can be certain points or there can certain situations which can affect the transfer, you have to think about it in advance and put it in the contract so that you will not be in violation. But if you just blindly sign the contract and you're committing to get the transfer done and later you change your mind, it means it's a violation and there are legal consequences, which is usually 10% of the purchase price. So you mentioned about on the transfer date, buyer has to settle the payment by manager check in the name of the seller.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Just for the information of our viewers, I want to ask this question. Sometimes, sellers, they don't have bank account.
Most of the time.
Yeah, so they're non-UAE residents, they're outside, property investors in UAE from all over the world. They may not have a bank account locally. What if they don't have a bank account? Where this check goes? Or what is a solution?
Understood, yeah. It's quite common, to be honest. More than 50% of the UAE investors are non-residents. So most of them doesn't have UAE bank, even the residency, they don't have. So in this case, we usually handle it through power of attorney. So basically, the seller will give POA to either us, to brokers, or under our agency name, or under our name, under broker name, basically. And our company can receive the payment in our bank account through the POA. So basically, after the POA is issued, the buyer can write the check on the name of our agency, and we can receive the payment and give to the seller. So this is the most common practice, in terms of
usually like lawyers also receive payment, or maybe some third parties, relatives, friends.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if the seller doesn't have a bank account, he can authorize through power of attorney someone to receive the payment on his behalf, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And this POA, is it just signed simply, or?
Yeah, well, no. POA, first of all, this is properly drafted by a legal firm with all the terms and conditions, and it's notarized by Dubai Court or Minister of Justice. So it's a legal document. Basically, it can be used, in any kind of legal forms to prove that, they are the legal representatives of the seller. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Sometimes sellers, they are very careful. They may not be comfortable to give POA to someone to receive the payment. So they may not have enough trust to give this power of attorney. What can they do in such situation? Open a bank account, probably.
100%. So basically, we do have such sensitive investors who really don't trust anybody other than themselves. So we know this type of people. So in advance, before starting the transfer, once they're making decision to sell it, we tell them that it will be such process during the transfer that you have to receive the payment through the check and you should have bank account. So basically, we offer them to open a bank account either as a non-resident or either through Golden Visa. So if their property value is under 2 million, is at least 2 million, then we can get 10-year Golden Visa. If it's 750,000, then we can get 2-year Golden Visa. And with that visa, we can apply for a bank account. Or there are options to open as a non-resident as well, which there are certain documents and some time frame. And we open the bank account and then we process the sales process.
Okay. All right. And I want to add one more scenario. So, for example, sometimes, seller and buyer, they know each other. And the buyer transfers directly to the seller, without giving this manager check. They do a bank transfer. This situation also possible.
Yeah.
It happens although it's risky for the buyer. But if this is a situation, then transfer can be done with a document from the seller, with a notarized declaration. It has to be also notarized like a power of attorney. A notarized declaration from the seller stating that he received the payment from the buyer already in exchange for this property. And based on this declaration, at trustee office, instead of asking manager check from the buyer, they can receive this declaration and authorize a transfer. So this is another possible solution, or scenario, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. So once parties go to the trustee office, the buyer gives the manager check. What are the payments need to be done, and from the seller side, or seller doesn't pay anything else there?
Well, basically, most of the payment is done by the buyer, such as paying the balance for the property and paying Dubai Land Department fee. There is a one-time government fee during the transfer paid, which is 4% of the property value, and also the broker's fee, usually 2%. So these fees are all paid by the buyer. And seller, to be honest, most of the time they only receive payments. This is their time. This is their day.
How about commission? For brokers?
For brokers. Yeah, the sellers, obviously, depending on the agreement with the broker, of course, most of the time is the same 2% commission from the seller. Based on the agreement, they give a check. As soon as they receive the manager check and other fees, it's transferred, then they give a manager check to the broker as well. So the only fee that they might have to pay is the broker fee. And sometimes they split the amount of the DLD fee. This happens during the negotiation, when they're debating on a certain price, and seller will say, like, let him agree for this price and I'm going to take care of the 2%. So kind of, they part of the negotiation, so they agree to pay the half of the DLD fee. And this might be the fee and the broker fee, and that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Okay. So once the transfer is done, title deed issued, new title deed issued in the name of the buyer, seller gets a manager check, puts in his account. If he has a UA account, very good. If he doesn't have, then there are these other options through power of attorney. He needs to authorize someone, or he needs to open a bank account. He puts the check, money is cleared. So what is left for the seller?
What is left for the seller?
I mean, does he need to do anything else?
Well, then after that, it will be my part is, of course, depending on how much premium he made on that property sale. Then I usually offer different options to buy, to continue
to invest these funds,
to continue investing. Of course, usually when you're investing, especially when you're buying off plan, you don't have to pay all together. You only pay 20% plus 4% DLD. So I usually, invite the seller to reinvest the property, because the market is always good. It keeps growing, either slow or high. It always keeps growing. Because it's still, the Dubai market in general is a new market compared to Europe and the US, which is more mature market. That's why, so still growth is happening. So I usually tell them to reinvest, and if they have some other plans, then I let them.
Okay.
So it will be end of the story.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Muhammad. And we are going to do another video about the mortgage transfer, which is going to be very interesting also for our viewers. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, please give us a like, share this video with people who might find this useful, and don't forget to subscribe.